So I wanted to make this video months ago, but what's happening right now nudged me. And it has nothing to do with the stealing. I don't have any proof of that, but I know that this type of content is actually very harmful to people who have been through narcissistic abuse. The thumbnails, the titles, and also there were some misleading or not correct information. And it's very, very dangerous. It gets you stuck more. It makes you even more obsessed with the narcissist. It's about the narcissist. It's not about you, really. And I'll tell you how. But first, I want to give you context of who I am, so you really know whether you want to listen to me or not. First, I'm a hypnotherapist. I studied hypnotherapy from 2 different platforms, actually, but I got my certification from Ecology. And I've practiced it online and offline since 2023, not long ago. I also happen to manage YouTube channels for other people as a job. So I know a lot about how YouTube works, and I've been a YouTube scriptwriter since 2019. And this is very relevant to what we're going to talk about today. You'll see in a minute. Also, I'm a survivor of narcissism and patriarchal narcissism. I lived that for more than 25 years. Patriarchal narcissism, not just a patriarchal narcissism home, but city, country, region, very patriarchal. And other than that, I had, of course, like when you go through that, it kind of sets you up to be in such relationships unless or until you find out how to help yourself. And Dr. Ramani absolutely helped me with that. I heard the word narcissism for the very first time from Dr. Ramani 2020. And oh my God, that 45-minute video described my life. And ever since, I've been studying narcissism and psychology in general. So that's a quick intro of who I am. So let's get back to what I really want to talk about after now that you've decided to either continue the video or not. So I don't want to start with negatives. That's actually one of my main criticisms of some of these channels about narcissism content. So I'm going to start with the positive ones and why you should listen to some of the names that I will mention. As I edit this video, I'm sure I'm going to remember other names. I'm just going to put them on the screen. But I already mentioned her name, Dr. Ramani, and I think I'm going to mention her name a lot in my videos. I think, mentioned it in like 1 or 2 of my other videos because she is freaking awesome. First of all, she's a psychologist. I studied hypnotherapy, right? But I can't talk about personality disorders. Dr. Ramani can. And she studied trauma in depth. All right. I studied trauma, but she is teaching the DSM in one of the universities in the US, right? I learned from her and a lot of other people like hypnotherapists, therapists, coaches learn from her. And other than her qualifications aside, right? Because there are tons of therapists, psychiatrists who actually need a psychiatrist. Like, do you remember the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial? Like, you remember exactly which psychiatrist I'm talking about. So, qualifications aside, Dr. Ramani has been through this stuff, and she is a good educator. The way that she talks in her videos, she's not about the clickbaiting. Her titles are not triggering. You know, there is PTSD, there is CPTSD, and there is another thing that Anna Runkle came up with, if I said her name right. Her channel is Crappy Childhood Fairy. This is also another lady that saved my life, watching her videos and taking some of her stuff from her website. She calls it childhood PTSD. And there is the trauma that comes after narcissistic abuse. It's a bit different. But in all of that, people who suffer from trauma, they get triggered by specific words, by specific sounds, by specific, like I'm going to make a sound right now, okay? If you've been through trauma or anything, maybe just lower the volume. This sound, that's me snapping my fingers, right? So in hypnotherapy sessions, in one of the courses that I learned, they taught us to do this, to snap our fingers when we want the client to remember something or to answer a question or something like that, right? And yeah, sometimes it works and everything, and it probably works, but I also gave a lot of sessions without it, and it worked just fine. So I don't do it anymore because I know it sometimes triggers people who've been through, especially CPTSD, right? So there are tons of things that if you're not aware of them, you can trigger other humans. Dr. Ramani, her titles are very, they're straight to the point, but they're not triggering. And I'm going to read some titles so you understand my point of view. What can you change if the narcissist won't? Very straight to the point, nothing triggering about it, right? The text on the thumbnail, narcissist will never change. Now what? Right? The thumbnail itself, text, her picture, normal picture, no AI manipulation, no blood coming out of her eyes, no, like nothing. There are things in her titles and texts on her thumbnails that get you curious, right? But they're not triggering. But other content creators, they do things like the narcissistic demon, the demon behind the narcissist. And I'm going to tell you the effect of them, not just the triggering. Like, if it's just about the triggering, then fine. But there is more effect, right? If you're going to look at other humans as demons, you give them the authority. What are you going to do against demons? You feel more helpless and you give up easily. And if you look at other humans as demons, if something bad happens to them, your mind doesn't give them empathy because they're just demons. They kind of deserve what happened to them. You're hurt. Somebody did something bad to you. But what does that have to do with you losing your humanity? Don't look at them as demons. There is literally a war going on right now in the world because some people looked at others like they are animals. That's not the world that we want to live in. They're just humans. Don't demonize them and don't idealize them. And I'm going to read you other titles that are very triggering. I'm going to try to rephrase them because it's not about a specific person, right? It's not about this specific YouTuber or that specific therapist or whatever. It's about the concept. So I don't want you to listen to this video and maybe you find what I'm saying makes sense and you understand exactly that I'm talking about this specific person. So you're just warned about this person. It kind of has dependency on what I'm saying. I don't want you to depend on what I'm saying. Take everything I'm saying with a grain of salt and really understand it and examine it so you can apply it to everything else if you're convinced and if it makes sense to you. You know what I'm trying to say? So I'm gonna rephrase some of these titles. These type of titles, right? How you can make the narcissist obsessed over you. How can you make the narcissist can get over you? 11 things that make the narcissist fear you. Make the narcissist find you irresistible. What the narcissist goes through after losing you. This one specifically is very bad because that's come on, if you've been through a narcissistic relationship, I'm really, whatever sounds that I just made, I'm trying to calm myself down, really. If you've been through this, if you've been through narcissistic relationships, you know that after you left, you were very confused. You actually wanted to get back to them. but you didn't. But you're also thinking of them. They were still living rent-free in your freaking head, right? What are they going through now? I hope that they're at least crying. I hope that they're at least sad that they lost me, right? And this video, like the title, helps you get even more obsessed with that narcissist. It's just bad. It's not to help you heal. It's to attract survivors. What they're thinking of, or what they're fearing, and what they're confused about, right? And it's not to answer you to help you heal. No. It's to give you an answer that satisfies your ego that is being hurt right now. And of course, like the thumbnails, the manipulation and things like that. I also have to say, like, there were some of these thumbnails that were actually good, and some of them were funny, and some titles were fine, right? But overall, that's my evaluation. And these titles are from different YouTubers, okay? They're not from one person at all. They're from different type of YouTubers. Because again, it's not about one specific person. I know that what's going on right now on YouTube has to do with one specific person, which I find very interesting, by the way, that the person identified himself, even though nobody mentioned his name. Side note. So how do you know? How do you know who to watch? You know when you have, like, food poisoning or something, right? Or you're sick. The period after being sick is very critical. Yeah, getting your medicine is awesome. Great. But after a food poisoning, you want to be very careful what you consume. And you can get back to eating from the street and eating junk food and all of that stuff, right? So it's kind of like that, but on a bigger scale and more important scale, I would say. After narcissistic abuse, you really don't know what's left from right. I've been there. I was so lucky that I got introduced to narcissism from Dr. Ramani. I was very lucky, and I'm aware of that. And there are other types of creators that are good. I actually like them. But Dr. Ramani has always been my source. I would watch something from other creators, but then I'd be like, okay, let's see what Dr. Ramani says about that. And I will write the topic and then write the word Dr. Ramani and see what she says. And I would advise you to do the same, honestly. Like, get a good grip first, then get introduced to something new that might and might not be good. But my main advice is, just because somebody has been through something, that doesn't mean that they really understand it. I didn't understand what I was going through until I watched Dr. Ramani. You know, it's not just about narcissism. It's also about the psychology of the survivors, trauma, healing techniques, tons of other things, right? So in that critical period of life, you want to listen to somebody who know what they're talking about. It's like this. Just because you speak English, does that make you a good English teacher? Another example, just because you had a kidney stone, does that mean that you can cure anybody who would have kidney stone? No, it's not the same. People don't go through diseases and, oh, I'm a doctor now. It's not like that. I'm going to talk about myself for a second because it might sound like I'm contradicting myself because I have been through it, but that's not why I'm talking about it. I never wanted to talk about it until one of, may he rest in peace, a therapist actually that I was working with after a divorce. And I did a lot of healing by myself and using Dr. Ramani's healing programs and also his advice. And I did a lot of things. And like in 2 months, I was a lot better than before. And he noticed how I was talking a lot about psychology in general and like other topics when it comes to trauma and personality disorders and things like that. And he was like, you have to do this for a living. I was like, no, I don't want to. I was like, not gonna just sit. They complain, they go back home, and then they come again and complain, no change. Bullshit, right? If I'm gonna help, then I'm gonna help make actual change. He convinced me like there are things that you can study that they can actually make change. That's how, or one of the things that got me going through hypnotherapy. I was like, okay, that actually makes a quicker change. And I liked it, and I could see results after my sessions with people. So I studied, and I practiced it. And I've been also studying here and there about trauma, about EFT. EFT is one of my favorite tools. I studied CBT, NLP, and other things on the side just because I'm interested in these stuff. I'm interested in psychology, Going through something doesn't make you an expert. Studying it is great, but what's even greater is a mix of both. Studying it and experiencing it. And to be fair, I wasn't like qualified just because I read a few books or took a few courses, right? I had to like learn how to sit and train yourself not to give advice. You're just guiding people, Sometimes with my friends before training to do this for a living, I would just like give them advice, right? Now I trained to not give advice, but just ask questions and help them find the answers for themselves, because my answer might not be your answer. Also, just because someone is a therapist, a coach, hypnotherapist like myself, doesn't mean that they're not narcissistic people. Please don't idealize humans. Another thing, just because someone went through narcissistic abuse doesn't mean that they're not narcissistic. Let me blow your mind. Not literally. Narcissistic people are people that have been through traumas. That's why, or that's how you stay stuck with them, because you see their traumas and you're like, oh, they need help, I'm gonna help them and all of that. My quick note here, so that nobody like takes this point and maybe it keeps them stuck. No. My quick point I'm gonna make about this is that they're traumatized, all right, they can get their help away from you, because it's like on a plane, the flight attendant will tell you, put your mask on. If something happens, put your oxygen mask on first and then help others. Because if you prioritize others, you're not going to help yourself and you might die. So it's kind of like that. But the point is, just because somebody is a therapist, a psychologist, talks about narcissism, aware of their traumas, doesn't make them a good person. Also, Dr. Ramani, I talk about her a lot and I really love this woman. However, she's a human, right? I am not idealizing her at all. I respect her and everything, but I am not putting her on a pedestal. She's a woman, she's got her life, she also, like, when I was on her healing program, she talked about some insecurities that she has, right? She's a human after all. Everyone is a human after all. Take everything everyone says with a grain of salt. Use your mind and really listen to what they're saying it and how they're saying it. You can understand a human by just listening. But when you've just come out of a narcissistic relationship, and just doesn't just mean a few days, maybe a year, maybe 2 years, depending on how long the narcissistic relationship was. If that narcissistic relationship was your relationship with your parent, that's a long one. You're gonna need a few years actually. But that doesn't mean that that your life is gonna suck for a few years. No. Your life is gonna gradually move forward, because healing doesn't happen like a snap of finger, It takes gradual progress. Today, maybe your perception of others and understanding of others isn't the best. Tomorrow, it's going to be 1% better. the day after it's going to be 1.5% better, you know? So take your time and first gain knowledge and gain understanding of these topics and what you're going through. Listen to somebody like Dr. Ramani, Crappy Childhood Fairy. Who else? Matthew Hussey. Matthew Hussey doesn't talk about narcissism, but he talks about relationships in general. And I love this man. But why? Because he is very unbiased. Most of his clients are women, but he's very unbiased. However, some other psychologists, like I talked about Sadia psychology in a video before, you know, like there's a debate between her and Matthew, and you can see who was biased and who wasn't. Matthew Hussey was like talking the same way that he talks about women, the same way he talks about men. He sees both points of views, right? You can listen to, who else can I recommend? Psychology in Seattle. Doesn't talk about narcissism, but in general, this gentleman, Dr. Kirk, I think, he's a very empathetic person. But anyway, read the disclaimer that they have, or the introduction that they have about their channels. Because here's something about YouTube. Anybody can make a channel. Guess what? Let's talk about YouTube. Because as I said before, I started working as a script writer for YouTube channels and other type of content since 2019. And I'm currently managing a few YouTube channels. So what happens when we produce a video? First thing comes is ideation. And how do you get an idea from? It doesn't fall from the sky. Sometimes it does. Some other times, as you're talking with somebody about a specific topic, an idea comes. And some other times, or most of the times actually, you search on YouTube and see other people in your niche, what they're saying, what they're doing, their most viral videos, and you get inspired. You don't plagiarize, if I said this word right, but you get inspired. And that's what happens in everything. Like even in art, a song doesn't come out of nowhere, right? This melody doesn't just get created in your head, you know? When you're in the music industry for a very long time, the inspiration is building up through you, right? When I was writing, like when we were writing stories and novels and things like that, the idea doesn't come. When I was also studying, that I learned that the idea doesn't come out of nowhere. You have to read novels. You have to be a reader first so you can be a writer. Because ideas don't just come out of nowhere, you know? That's not to say that people who take ideations from others are bad people. People who copy everything, that's not great, you know? And then you make the script and so on. But the listener or the viewer or the reader in any type of art, they don't really know why they're drawn to a specific type of content, like a song, or like a painting, like a book, like, you know? They don't really know. But the artist knows. The way you're writing determines who's gonna read. The way you make a video determines who's gonna watch. It's the same thing. The way you paint a painting is gonna determine who's gonna buy it or who's gonna just walk by it and not even look at it. In marketing or in sales, they tell you talk to the customers' pain points. It's literally called pain points. So why am I saying this? It's because I want to tell you and I want you to know that everything you consume has something behind it. Find out what is behind it. Somebody like Dr. Ramani, you can see it in her videos. She would just have an idea, she would put her camera and she will talk about it. Doesn't even care about makeup. Sometimes she puts makeup, sometimes she doesn't. She would like get an idea or get a question in her head and she reads tons of articles and research papers, and that's her life. That's her legacy. She does it because she believes in it. That's what's behind her content. Somebody like other content creators, they're like, I want to monetize my channel. I want to make courses out of it. I mean, she's also earning from it, right? Everyone has to make their bread and butter, and everyone has to earn their living, but there's someone making money out of your pain and someone making money out of your healing. You're gonna make money anyway. So the way matters.